you have to get over your fear of pulling the trigger and just doing a deal. Even if it's not going to be a home run, you might have a base hit, but the knowledge that you're going to learn from that is going to be the home run. But the point is, we're investors in action. You're not going to succeed in life if you don't take action.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited today because we have Allia on. She specializes on self-storage, and we will be talking to her, and she will be sharing great knowledge and experiences about how she got into self-storage. Hi, Allia. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Jen?
Pretty awesome. Excited to have you on my channel and talk to you. I always learn so many things on your investment. Especially you have a vast experience, and I'm really curious how everything started with you in real estate and how you ended focusing on self-storage. Can you share a little bit about your story?
I'll try to condense it really quick. So I want to take this back to when I was a kid. I saw from my parents that, we weren't wealthy. We were living off a Social Security income. My dad was retired. And we didn't have a mortgage, and we had an investment property, just one. But I saw that was a way to generate wealth. So that kind of stuck with me, and the fact that I lived with a stay-at-home mom growing up was something that I admired about my family situation, and I wanted to try to recreate that. Fast forward, I went to college, did the whole get good grades, blah, 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 get a good job. And then I realized that if I continued to work in a job, that I wasn't going to generate wealth. And I wasn't really going to create that life that I wanted to create for myself. And so I started with just really the basics, a single family flip, a couple of rentals back in, kind of the early 2000s. And then I did Iris's 60-day challenge, and I met Terry, and then I really got into real estate. I recognized that at that moment in time, it was like 2008, 2009, I wanted to ramp up my education around real estate because I saw this huge opportunity with the market tanking. And I knew that was the time, if there was ever going to be a time, that was the time to really jump into real estate. So I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to make mistakes. And so I met my partner, Terry, and we decided, because we were able to put a little bit of money together, to actually be the lender on fix and flip transactions. And so, both of us had experience with flips and rentals, but we liked this idea of being a lender. And so we were lending on a number of transactions. We took a couple back at the same time from the same borrower in the same neighborhood in Palm Springs, where we lost a little bit of money, and we had to repair the property and get it back out onto the market, all the while keeping a bunch of loans current, and making sure our investors got paid. And so that was a little bit of a painful experience, but as you know, sometimes you have a learning experience. The idea is to grow from it. And so we had a just kind of reconciliation, like, how do we not do this again? How do we this type of transaction? What can we learn from this? Because it was in Palm Springs, which is very cyclical. People don't really go there in the summertime, and that's when we took the properties back. So we wanted to make sure that any property that we were getting into on a bigger scale had cash flow from day one. And I was already partnered with our operational partner, Al. He happened to come to us and say, I know you're lenders. Would you consider lending on this self-storage deal? And we looked at the deal, and it made 100% sense. It was in Michigan, which didn't make sense, right? Like, we were kind of scared of the Flint area, but it was one of the best deals that we ever did. All of us really. And so we purchased that one for around $650,000. It's around 300 units of cash flow. And think about that compared to a single family here in LA or Orange County. Like, that's the price of a condo now, right? And so we're getting 300 units of cash flow for the price of one unit here in California. And that just kind of, like, for Terry and I, it just turned the light bulb on, like, let's do this again. So between that and mobile home park investing, we were really on fire for commercial, and specifically commercial cash flow properties that were more recession resistant, because we had gone from 2008, now it's 2014, 15, 16. You know, you don't know how long that market up cycle is going to run. So we wanted to make sure if there was a downturn that we were properly positioned in the type of asset that would still cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. So it sounds like you say, well, we decide to shift our focus because we like the cash flow and we don't like losing money. And there we
Yeah.
right. And I get you. It happens to me through my history too in real estate. I think you guys were in the perfect timing on 2008, you know, to start learning and buying. It was perfect timing. And it's so interesting how you guys ended in something like self-storage, especially during these times, because yes, it's not 2008, but we have a pandemic with a high probability of a recession, and also unemployment rates, they're skyrocketing. So talk to me about why self-storage, especially during these times. Share with me why you guys decide to go self-storage, a part that is sexy cash flow.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit, what is your plan on self-storage based on these times, uncertain times?
We're actually in escrow on a deal, and we closed one about a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So we're still purchasing properties. Now, granted, these are deals that have been in escrow for a while prior to, you know, the major portion of this COVID shutdown. Mm-hmm. But we're still seeing occupancy increasing on these properties, and across our portfolio, we're seeing overall, not every single property, but most of our properties have increased in occupancy. So what's happening, and this is why we were very interested in storage in the first place, was it balances out. And you might have to do like rate reductions, you might have higher delinquencies, so it's not like 100% foolproof, right, or recession proof. But what makes it recession resistant is the demand for the product. If you were in, let's say, office space or retail space, you would be probably hurting really bad right now if that was your asset class of choice. But with self-storage, when people are hurting, when people are consolidating households, or maybe they have to shut down their business and now they have to move the contents of a restaurant, let's say, you've got chairs and tables, you might not have a garage for all that to go to. So you're going to put it in storage until you can either liquidate the inventory or figure out when you can start your business back up again. And so we're seeing people moving in, really kind of representing all different classes of renter types: professionals, business owners, individuals, and actually a bump that we're seeing across the sector is college students.
Oh, wow.
Because they had to leave their university a little bit early. They weren't sure when they were going to come back. So we have a couple properties located near a university where we've seen some activity there.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're talking about now your target market. What is your focus? What kind of properties are you buying in self-storage to meet these criteria? And for those people who are interested on getting into the self-storage, what kind of important insights or points you can share with them so they start looking into these properties with the right eyes?
Right. Well, I think with any type of real estate, you have to analyze every single deal as an individual deal, right? Just because self-storage doesn't make it a deal. It's when you get into the numbers. And when you first are presented with a property that's on the market, the representing broker will typically put together what's called an offer memorandum, and possibly what is also called a pro forma. What the pro forma is representing the future potential of that property. So if there's a large delta between, you know, what you can get it for today and the future value of that property, by either increasing the occupancy, increasing the rents, maybe adding units if there's a lot of vacant lot to it, or you can, what we do is we actually bring in U-Haul, a distributor partnership. We look at land as potential use for parking RVs, boats, and vehicles. So that's another way that we can add value on our net operating income to the property. without doing any major construction on the property. So we like things that don't cost a lot, but we can invest in marketing. We can invest in training our employees so that they know how to go out into the market and attract the best tenant, and really get that property occupied. What we look for specifically are lower occupancy properties, and this is not everyone's strategy. There's a lot of hedge funds out there that like, completely full Class A properties. We're looking at like Class B, B minus properties, something that, is maybe a little bit older, owned by a mom and pop who don't necessarily think like a hedge fund. They've maybe owned it for 20, 30 years and they're ready to retire. And perhaps they haven't raised the rents. Perhaps they haven't invested in online digital marketing strategies that, the majority of people are now looking at their cell phones, they're on their computers, they're looking through Google searches for self-storage near me, right? That's like one of the searches that they might do. And so utilizing the best SEO strategy and really training your managers well, we can take a property that, let's say 40 to 70% occupied and turn it into something that's 80 to 90% occupied.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I love those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very interested in self-storage. I have been following it for a little bit time. I also very into motel extended stay model specifically, nothing else, extended stay, because it gives us stability, especially during these, challenging time, uncertain times.
Right.
But definitely self-storage is one of those assets that I see it as a long-term investment. Like, it's matter of focusing on how to improve the business, the performance of the business, and then you can start making, really good cash flow, a steady cash flow, and you don't have to deal with too much of the headaches, right? With tenants. Because I get that that's what happened for you guys. Now, let me ask you this. Self-storage, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic. And you ladies started a few years ago. Are you getting ready to level up? Or what's next for your organization? What are you guys planning to do moving forward? And, maybe share with us what's coming for you.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it was really a retirement strategy, primarily for Terry. It was a stay-at-home mom strategy for me. And Al, we just kind of convinced him to to help us meet our goals. So we were helping him meet his goals. So we told him, I'm like, are you okay with 10xing your goal that you initially started with to help us get to where we'd like to be? And so he's on board for our overall financial goal. But we're family people, so we're not looking necessarily to like go another 20, 30 years. I personally can't imagine not doing that. It's just in me to be a business person. And so there probably is something evolving after this. But for right now, I'm really keen on just kind of staying the course of what we've done for the last few years, and possibly creating a new fund. That's been something that we've talked about doing. I would love to create like a minority veteran women owned type of fund.
Oh, cool.
That's what we are. That's who we are as a business. Al's African American. He's a veteran. He was an Air Force captain. Obviously, Terry and I are women, so we kind of have the whole spectrum there of I guess minority status. But we really want to also include that representation of investors to help other people build their wealth alongside of us. So
awesome.
That's kind of what's brewing in my head right now, especially like over the last few weeks. Like how do I take what's happening in the world right now and apply what I know how to do, my skill set, my talents, my capacity in business to really support other people that may not have been supported properly in the past. So that's where my brain's at.
That's awesome. I'm actually, you're gonna laugh about this, but one of the reasons I also decided to start this channel is to give more opportunity to other people that normally they cannot reach, to other people that can educate them and help them and give them some guidance, insights, inspiration, or any of those details or opportunities where they can get involved, because they lack the accessibility to get that information. And that's why I wanted to do this channel, to really help those people, to spark the inspiration in them, and know that they can do this too. And you know, there's great information out there for free. There's education that you have to pay. I mean, all of them. It's important for you to learn it, right? To move forward on these paths, especially in the real estate world. We cannot do anything without education, and proper education.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Allia, is there any one advice that you can share with all the people who want to get in, you know, they want to get into investing in self-storage? Do you have any one insight that it will be important for them either to start or level up their game in the self-storage area?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it just a second ago. It's education. It's getting educated on the asset class. Terry and I offer education. There are a couple different organizations. One is Inside Self Storage. The other one is the Self Storage Association that offers education on self-storage. They're a well-known industry. They have large conferences, but they did have large conferences. We're still pending. I think ISS is now going online. It was intended for mid-April, and they kept pushing it and decided then they're just going to do it online. But checking out those organizations as well, you can get a pretty good, well-rounded view of this. Self-storage as a niche is really not that hard. Like once you get into it and start applying, you know, the tactics, it's not a hard asset class to own and manage. But it does have its own unique characteristics to it. If you
They're unique things.
What's that?
That's the unique things, things of every real estate asset.
Yeah, I guess for me, like how I get started with anything is I work a lot with other people's money, but I don't do it on the first deal unless they're willing to be a partner in the deal, either active or passive partner, but they understand, hey, yo, this is my first rodeo with this asset class. Yeah. I want you to know that. So I tend to just use my own cash to do a new type of deal for the first time, maybe the first few times before I get other people's money involved. But the point is, we're investors in action. That's the name of our company.
Amen.
You cannot do anything. You're not going to succeed in life if you don't take action. So, you know, we have people that have come to our classes over and over. They're investing with us passively. They really want a deal, but they're not pulling the trigger on it. And that you have to get over your fear of pulling the trigger and just doing a deal. Even if it's not going to be a home run, you might have a base hit, but the knowledge that you're going to learn from that is going to be the home run. It's going to be the grand slam.
Amen. I think it's about taking that one step that is going to propel you forward. And sometimes people say knowledge is power. And for me, it's like, no, it's not true. Knowledge is power when you do something with it, when you implement what you just learned. If not, it's just a bunch of data store in a storage that you are not using. So, right? So for me, like taking action, even if it's little step by step, some people are willing to jump and run. Other people are willing to take steps slowly. But what is important is creating that progress that really help you get closer to where you want to go. So,
right. Yeah.
Well, Allia, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your insights, your resources. I will be posting your website down there, so people who want to contact you, they can just go down there in the transcription area, get to connect with you. And I really appreciate, you know, taking the time with us to come and share some of your ideas on, you know, how to get started in self-storage. So thank you so much.
Absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you.